everyone, and welcome to Lattes on My Mind.
I'm Hannah.
And I'm Felina. What are we talking about today?
Oh, Felina. We're talking about the Knights Templar.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So grab your lattes and join us for the journey.
What's up?
What's up?
What's up this week, Felina?
Oh, just been hanging out.
Yeah. You have isn't it your tech week next week?
It is tech week next week. So send a little. I'll actually be through tech week by 2 weeks, but we will still be doing the show by the time this episode is released.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
If you think about me and Felina lately, pray for us. She's got, everything going on with the play, the musical.
My dog also decided, Suki, little Sook, not even a year old yet. She's in heat.
She became a lady.
She's a lady.
She's a lady. Yeah, we were like, she was like, what did Sky have when she had a UTI? And then come to find out, Suki did not have a UTI.
No. Well, she was swollen, but we hadn't seen any, this is graphic. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
We hadn't seen any blood or anything.
Yeah.
Which, we saw that pretty soon after we noticed Darcy was swollen. But it's because she was cleaning herself.
Oh, the Suki.
And so we hadn't seen it. And then we took her to the vet because we thought, well, if there's no blood, she's swollen, so she might have an infection.
Right. That's what I would think.
We need to get her some medicine. We took her to the vet. We told him, she's about a year old. We thought maybe she might be going into heat, so we waited a couple days, but she's still swollen. We haven't seen any blood. She has been licking herself a lot. And then they were like not letting her lick herself, so they were able to actually see it. And she is in fact in heat. So she's wearing a diaper. She hates it. She despises. We've traumatized her actually with it, but it was hilarious because when we first put it on, I set her down and I let her go to Marshall, and she started walking, and then she lifted her hind legs up and she was doing like a handstand and walking, and it was hysterical.
That is so funny. The poor thing. I wonder what goes through a dog's mind when that happens, because they don't have anyone to explain it to them.
Yeah.
I know it's just a natural thing, but it's like, what goes through their head? Why? She's like, what's happening to me?
And Marshall was like, do you think she feels restricted?
With the diaper?
With the diaper.
Sorry.
I was like, yeah, I do.
Such is the way of a woman.
But she has to wear it. I'm not getting blood all over my home.
Sorry, not doing it.
And she, every time I put it on, she tries to jump into my arms.
Oh.
I'm like, I knelt down and she jumped up into my arms. And she was literally hugging around my chest. It was so pitiful.
Oh, the poor little thing.
She'll get over it.
She'll be fine. Everyone...
So yeah, say a prayer for me because she'll probably still be in heat by the time this episode comes out, because it lasts 2 to 4 weeks.
Isn't it? Yeah. I think our dogs were always 3 weeks or something, and it's like, oh my gosh,
a month.
Yeah, because I don't think Wes knew that, and I was like, yeah, they for a really few weeks, and he said what? Yeah. And I was like, yeah. I mean, this was a while ago because I was explaining it, but I was like, yeah, they only have it 4 times a year, but it's or do they have it 4 times a year? Or is it only twice?
No, they have it.
They have it.
It depends on the
dog. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, if you don't want to hear this.
Oh well.
Such is the case.
Yeah. You know what else is really bloody?
Yeah. Templars, Knights specifically.
Knights.
Yeah. They were bloody indeed. What do you know about the Knight?
The Templar Knights.
The Templar Knights.
Every time I hear Templar Knights, I think Knights of the Round Table, and I don't think that's the same thing.
It's not the same thing. It's a good proposal.
I know that I think they're knights, so they had the armor.
Awesome. Okay, guys, this is gonna be great.
I know nothing about them, is what I'm trying to say to you.
I love that. Apparently, though, that you should know something about them because you talked about this to me before, and I have not seen it, but they're apparently in the Da Vinci Code, or they're not in the Da Vinci Code, but they're mentioned, their stuff or something. Okay. So yeah, so I haven't watched that personally or read it, but
are they the ones that cause self harm?
No, they're not.
No,
but that's probably a type of monk or something, which they were. So we'll get into it, but they are knight monks almost, which is not. It doesn't make any sense. We'll get into it. Okay.
How can you kill people and say you're a monk?
Just wait. We will tell.
Does not make sense.
Exactly. And that was unheard of until this time. Now, these Templar Knights, founded in 1119 in medieval times. So apparently Hannah just always does medieval times because I do enjoy a good medieval story.
Good medieval tale, if you would.
Because things get real medieval real fast. Wes doesn't like medieval periods for like dramas and stuff. And I will have to say, like, you have to do them well. But I love it. I think it's interesting. But he's like, it's always so bad. I'm like,
what do you mean? Like, what does he mean is so bad?
Well, like, so most of like the medieval shows, like think of like that came out, like Merlin. Like they don't do, I didn't actually watch it, but like.
I didn't watch it either. I thought Merlin was like dragons.
Well, I think it might have dragons in it, but it's like King Arthur because Merlin is like the wizard in King Arthur. So it's knights and things. It's supposed to be, but I think it's like kind of like what they did.
I just paused. She said King Arthur like I'm supposed to know who that is.
You just said the Knights of the Round Table, King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table.
You think I know the names of people?
You're right. I just assumed. And you know what happens when they say people assume?
Yes.
But yeah, so King Arthur, like the legend of King Arthur and him pulling the sword from the stone. Do you know about that?
Oh, is that who did that?
Yeah.
Cool. I know the stories. I don't know the names.
This is is that who did that? There was this guy sometime. Like
he pulled the sword from the stone.
I have no idea who he was.
But he was also the Knights of the Round Table.
Have you ever seen The Sword in the Stone, the Disney old movie about King Arthur?
No.
Stop.
I don't watch the weird stuff like you do.
Don't say weird stuff.
Listen. Everybody knows.
This is a Disney movie.
Clearly, it's not that popular.
People didn't watch Blackbeard's Ghost. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Listen here. Blackbeard's Ghost is a classic.
Is it?
It's a classic. It's so good. It has Dean Jones in it.
Yeah,
so
but, I mean,
who you don't know either.
Yeah.
Herbie the Love Bug. You know that guy?
Yeah. I know Herbie the Love Bug.
And the guy that's in the Herbie the Love Bug movies?
Nope.
That's Dean Jones.
Him at all.
All right. Anyway, so we got to when they were founded, which was in 1119. They lasted for about 2 centuries, so 200 years. So, I mean,
quite a while.
It's a while, but it's also like, I think in the grand scheme of things, well, I guess like for an organization, that's a pretty long time.
200 years?
Yeah,
I mean, like the founding members died off.
You're right.
Like twice at that point.
You're right. So they started because of...
This is medieval times, so it's more like 5 times at this point.
That's true. Like 6, however many... whatever they lived to like, 40 would probably be like extremely old.
Yeah,
in this
40
time
would
period.
be ancient.
Yes. So they started because of the Crusades. Now, do you know about the Crusades?
Do you hear the people sing?
That's the French Revolution.
Yeah. That's the barricades. That's what I was thinking. Okay. Do I know about the Crusades?
So the Crusades were essentially like when it was believed the Christians were trying to take back Jerusalem because they thought that, it was a holy site because of Jesus and all that. But it was in Muslim control at this time. And so they essentially went on this like Christian campaign to take back the Holy Land from whom they considered like the unfaithful ones, which is very like, I obviously don't support this mindset. I don't support this mindset. It's wrong. But because like lots of times they had such a, like, if you're not a Christian, then you're like,
unholy.
Yeah. You're a pagan or so, that sort of thing. So that was their mindset. So, this group of knights started because of the Crusades, which happened, I think it started.
So was this group of knights Christian?
Yes. We're going to say yes.
They fought for the Christians.
Yes.
Okay.
In which at this time, like Catholicism was really the Christian religion, really, I think in medieval times. I don't know if there were other branches. I could be wrong. There were different branches of monks, which we will talk about in just a moment. Okay, so in 1095, I think is when the Crusades kind of started. There was this guy named Pope Urban II. Urban. Which, speaking of popes, guys.
We just got a new pope and he's from Chicago.
Yeah, did you know? I know. Wes has a conspiracy. It's not a complete conspiracy, but he says, this is interesting because the guy, so remember, Pope Francis met with J.D. Vance, the day before or the 2 days before he died. So then Pope Francis died.
And now there's an
American Pope. So he's like, I have this conspiracy, like the Pope dies because he met with the American vice president. And then now there's an American Pope. And has there ever been an American Pope? This is such a question. Sorry, I'm already getting off.
Such a
This is crazy.
Ever been
an American Pope? It's going to be like, Pope, what's his name? The new one?
I have no idea.
Because it's not.
I just know he's.
The popes get a name. Like, it's not their original name, right? They like get named Pope whatever, the whatever, and it's like not their actual name.
Yeah, no, it's just coming up with the new guy.
Okay. But I think he's the only one. We're going to say he's the only American Pope. I don't know, but.
Wait.
Pope.
I'm confused.
What are you seeing?
Yeah, this is the first Pope from the United States.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just interesting. Okay. That's all I'm saying.
I think I think he's already chosen a name, and I think it's Leo.
Oh, he chooses it?
Yeah, I think.
Oh, so like they'll go and look at like the acceptable Pope names, and then because like it's always like Leo. Well, it's not always Leo, but like Clement or
Charles.
Urban or yeah. So this guy's named Pope Urban II. Okay. Now, and he decides to ask the Christians in Europe to help Byzantine, which I don't know if Byzantine is still. I think that was like an area. Regain the Holy Land, so Jerusalem, and it was under Muslim rule, like I said. So in 1099, they got the Holy Land back. Now, because of this, pilgrims wanted to make a journey to the Holy Land, because that was the thing. Like, you travel and you see the Holy Land where Christ died, and it's such a rewarding, trip. So they would essentially, like, wherever they're from, like in Europe, they would travel by foot. So that's what a pilgrim. Yes.
Okay. I thought American pilgrims. Those weren't around yet, Hannah.
You're right. Not that kind of pilgrim, but like ones out. Essentially, a pilgrim is whoever makes a journey. So like it's like we just say, oh, the pilgrims, and we're thinking of the people who came to America. Yeah. But this is a different kind of pilgrim. Pilgrim make journey. Pilgrim make journey.
Pilgrim make journey.
From wherever they were in Europe to the Holy Land. But at this time, that was dangerous because they were passing through territory that was not their own. It belonged to Muslim peoples. So they were in danger of either one being stolen from, or being killed as they
unalive.
Yes.
If you would.
Yes, because they're going through someone else's land. So essentially they were in danger traveling from Europe to the Holy City. So this guy named Hugh de Pons. Yes. Hugh de Pons. I think you're actually right. Because it's a French name, guys.
I'm really good with the French, yes, apparently.
I always ask you and you're like, I don't speak French. So this guy was concerned for this. Like, he wanted to protect the pilgrims that wanted to travel to Jerusalem. So he asked, I think, the king of Jerusalem at that time.
Hold up.
Yes, go ahead.
You've done it like so many times now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Say the country. Or the city, or whatever.
Jerusalem?
Jerusalem.
What? Jerusalem?
Jerusalem.
I think that it said Jerusalem. Look it up. I don't know.
Jerusalem.
Jerusalem.
Jerusalem. It sounds like you're not finishing the. How do you say it? I've always heard it pronounced Jerusalem, but I am from Kentucky, so.
Maybe it is Jerusalem. It says correctly. Is it a Z? Is it a S? This one says S. So maybe Jerusalem. I feel like that's a very American way to say it. Like, I don't know if that's okay. Jerusalem.
It just feels like you're not like Jerusalem. It feels like I'm saying it with like slurred words. Jerusalem? Say it that way. Sorry. I told her before this episode I wasn't going to get distracted, and I've already gotten us off topic quite a bit.
So many times. How to pronounce in Hebrew? Oh, that's
we don't need that.
That's with a Y.
We don't need that.
Oh. Anyway.
Anywho.
We'll figure it out.
So they traveled to the place.
To the Holy Land, we're going to call it. Since Felina always... Listen, I didn't say anything when you said Freon for Freon. So...
I said Freon, I don't know.
Yeah, but the first time you said Freon, I was like, what is that?
And then I said Freon, I don't know. I admitted to the fact
I didn't know. I admit to it. I don't know how to pronounce things. Lots of times I'm pronouncing things the British way. I'm not gonna lie to you. I watched so much British stuff growing up that I
pronounce it the British way.
I spell things with U's that don't have U's.
So you read it and you just kind of made it up on your own.
And that's just how I say it. And that's my dialect.
That's honestly, like, I would be doing the same thing if I didn't hear other people say it.
If you went to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so the Holy City. So this guy, Hugh de Pons, who was a French knight and also a noble originally. He proposed to the king of the Holy Land to form a group.
Who is the king of the Holy Land?
Oh, I don't know. His name was, I don't know. I really don't remember.
That's okay.
I think he was probably a European guy, so he probably wasn't even supposed to be the king of Jerusalem.
Ooh,
Jerusalem. I actually don't know if that's true, so don't quote me on that fact.
I quote her on it immediately.
Did you hear? But so he asked him to form the group. He was like, yeah, I think this is a great idea. So he gets, I think it's just 8 other guys. So there's like 9 of them in total that start the Knights Templar.
I hate an uneven number.
I know. You're really not going to like that. Well, so they're leaders. So think of it as like 8 knights with a leader. Maybe that will help you. She's like, no.
Sure.
So
sure.
He later went to like get England support, France's support, all that sort of thing. The church.
Allies.
Yes, allies. I found the king. His name was Baldwin II. That's what I thought.
Baldwin.
So I feel like he's European.
What a name.
Yes, Baldwin.
King
Baldwin, may we begin a group of knights to protect the pilgrims? And he said yes. So he gave them a palace. And this palace,
he gave the knights a palace? Mm-hmm. All 8 of them an individual palace, or all 8 of them had to share a
no, it was palace? Like one. It was like for their headquarters.
Oh, okay, cool.
So he gave it to them, and it was on the Temple Mount. Now, in the Holy City. If you know this is Solomon's temple, that was destroyed. Mm-hmm. But he gives them this part, so they build on this Temple Mount, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, because this is like a big deal to the Israelites. Like you don't build on the Temple Mount like that, unless it's like a temple that
it's
Jesus,
like sacrilegious,
or not that Jesus, but that God would be like, go build my temple or whatever. Yeah. But so this is where they established their headquarters, and that's why they're originally titled The Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and the Temple of Solomon.
Such a lengthy title.
And that's why they became dubbed the Knights Templar, because they're on the Temple Mount. Yeah. Yeah, so they shortened it. But can you imagine Hugh being like, let's name it
The Poor
Fellow Soldiers of Christ and the Temple of Solomon. Like, what?
Whoa.
What? So, yes, that's why they're called the Knights Templar.
Could you imagine making those uniforms, too? You just have to stitch all those letters.
They didn't do that, but,
yeah,
can you imagine writing it down?
Know they didn't?
Well, that's true, because, maybe they originally did, but they did have uniforms, and we'll talk about them soon.
Ooh, fun.
So, they were mostly stationed in Israel and the Holy City, and then they also later moved to a place called, it's spelled like acre almost, but I think it's pronounced Accra, but I don't know.
I think you're right.
Okay. I was like, I don't know how to say this. William Shatner said Accra when he was narrating the History Channel thing. So
who's William Shatner? Oh, William Shatner.
Yeah.
We met him.
Yes, we did. I was like, Shatner.
I recognized the name, but I couldn't put a face to it.
That was me when we met him. I said, who is this again? And then come to find out, he's in Psych. He's like the girl's dad, which I know you haven't watched all of Psych, but that's like one of my favorite shows. And I did not know he was in it. And I was like, what?
And yet you met him.
Yes. And yet I met him, and I said, who is he again? And everyone was like, what do you mean? I was like, whoops. So the reason why I think also that this group gained so much traction is because they were acknowledged by Pope Honorius II. I don't know if you say the H. I'm going to assume not, because British people also don't usually pronounce the H.
Well, if you pronounce the H,
it's not great.
It's not fun. So we're going to go with Honorius.
Honorius. So they were acknowledged by him as a real organization in 1129.
Oh, wow.
So that's, let's see, they were established, 10 years after, I guess.
Look at that quick math.
Yeah, I think.
Snaps all around.
I try. Can't pronounce things, can't math things. We're trying our best these days.
We're doing our best.
So this is the first time, like I was talking about before, where knight and monk kind of became one thing, which was not usually the case. Knights apparently at this time were seen as like now where we associate them with, like, I feel like protecting people and honor. Then it was like knights were kind of like seen as a threat, and were kind of just
like, they're going to kill you.
Yeah, like they're gangsters almost. Like it's like they were seen as like just people
like
that went and
thugs.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the definition they said when they were explaining them. I don't know what just happened to my brain. It stopped working. But
that was exactly the definition.
The definition.
I don't think they used the word thugs.
They did use the word thugs in the article I read. It was what I was trying. Yes, that's what I was trying to say.
I thought you meant like the people called them thugs. I was like, what? I don't think that was a term.
It wasn't the medieval people being like,
okay,
y'all are thugs. It wasn't like that. But that's kind of what they were.
Y'all are thugs.
Y'all are thugs. Y'all with a British accent.
Y'all are thugs.
But these guys, they took monastic, like monk vows as part of their like.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I said, whoa.
Monastic.
That's a big word for Elmo.
That's a big word for Elmo. So they took vows. So it was like very religious order of knights. So they had to swear to poverty, obedience, chastity.
Swearing to poverty is crazy.
Yes. They're like, we cannot be, well, because in that case, it'd be like riches are, they're of this world. You don't need them. You need to be poor and lowly. And also they promise to be chaste or pure. So no extracurricular activities.
So, wow.
Yeah. So, yeah. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later.
They can't fall in love.
No, they cannot learn to love.
Yes. So sad.
That's why if you don't want to give up these things, don't become a Knight Templar or a Templar Knight. How are they? I always hear the Knights Templar. Templar.
Don't become a Knight of the Templar.
Of the Templar. Of the Round Table.
What? I thought you said that was different.
It is.
Now you're confusing me.
I want to confuse you. That's why I said it. So their leader was titled the Grand Master.
Of course he was.
Yes. Which is funny because they also had like sergeants and grand marshals. So I thought that was funny because I was like, the Grand Marshal. And I thought that was their leader, but it's master. So she's yawning. She's so bored.
I'm not bored. I'm sleepy.
That's what I was doing during hers.
I haven't had to communicate with anybody for 3 days.
Yeah, now she has to communicate to me for like 2 hours. So she's
fine.
She's, getting the energy sucked out of her.
With it.
So they would actually elect him by votes from the knights. So that's interesting. So at least you got to choose.
You choose your evil.
Yeah, you choose your evil. You choose your poison. So the Grand Master.
Evil. I don't know if he's bad.
Well, there were several. So I mean, I don't think they were necessarily, any of them were like evil, but still, if you have to listen to someone and like you literally have to answer to them, like sure you elect them, but you have to obey them.
Yeah,
like that was one of their rules. So that can't be too fun, regardless.
I'm too rebellious to be a knight.
Right. So I am too, especially.
I'm too stubborn, I should say, to be a knight.
Yeah.
I'm not really rebellious.
Yeah, just wait till the things you hear that they have to do. Because you definitely don't want to be one of these knights.
Tell me.
I will. That's at the end. Because it's interesting.
Why?
Because I wanted to end on the interesting notes for both of them.
Okay.
So the Grand Master obviously lived in the Holy City. And then later they moved to Acre. Or however you say it, in 1191. And then later to Cyprus. Which Cyprus...
Isn't that...
Go ahead.
Cyprus, isn't that like a... I'm going to not make myself stupid. Go ahead. Go.
It is an island in the Mediterranean. So,
no, that's
like,
not what I was thinking.
What were you thinking?
Like a god or something.
Oh, maybe you're thinking of Cerberus. Yeah,
that's
which
what
is
I'm thinking of
the
which also
three-headed dog.
Fortnite. That's the funnest place.
Cerberus.
Yeah.
The place that belongs to Cerberus.
Yeah.
Is that Hades?
It's a good place to land. No, that's
or the underworld. Okay.
It was like the place right before the underworld.
Oh, like the outskirts?
Yeah, it was
kinda
fun.
Yeah, that was
a
better.
lot of Avengers chests.
So you're saying, if any of you play Fortnite, you know what we're talking about. Which apparently is it like the Star Wars one right now?
Well, it was just May the 4th,
Yeah.
which I totally missed. So
I totally did
might
too.
be done, honestly.
I thought they had like...
No, it's like a Star Wars
I thought it was Star Wars themed.
Crap on a cracker.
Felita's missing her jam.
I'm missing the Star Wars one. I just know Padme's been in that item shop, and I'm missing her.
Have you been wanting her for a long time?
I want her so bad.
Girl, you need to log on today at least and see if she's on there.
I saw her once, and I was like, oh, because usually they're on there for like a day or two.
Sometimes they're not.
And I was like, oh, I'll buy her tomorrow because I was getting paid the next day.
Yeah.
And she was gone. And
they did you dirty.
Devastated.
I hate that. I'm like, really? Like, I was thinking about getting the Loki, but it wasn't the Loki I wanted. I want the old Loki skin, like the original. And they came out with the Loki show, and they chose like the worst outfit for him that they put him in at the end, and he had loafers or something. I was like, I don't want him with loafers.
Why not? That's fun.
No, it's not. We were fun. When Wes and I saw that, we said, what the heck is he wearing?
We're so off topic.
Yes, we are.
I'm so sorry.
Anyway, let's go on.
The island.
So Pope Innocent III.
Pope Innocent?
The second. Sorry. Pope Innocent the second.
That's his legit name.
That's his legit name. I'm not making these. Why would I call him Pope Innocent? That sounds like a nickname that you would come up with.
That's interesting.
So he declared the Knights Templar. Templar or Templar?
I don't know.
Now I'm scared.
I think it's Templar.
Templar? Mm-hmm. It's spelled like that. But he declared them as having special privileges in 1139, including not having taxes imposed on them.
They're impoverished, but they're privileged.
That's right. They don't have to pay taxes, and they only have to answer to the Pope. So they don't have to answer to any other man, well, besides their Grand Master, and the Pope. So they can kind of do, if the Pope says it's okay, I guess they can go do it. Now,
is that where tax exempt comes from in like the church?
In the church?
Today?
I'm wondering, like, because they did. Well, I don't know if surely it was. They had some sort of tax exemption for like the popes probably before this, right?
I don't know.
Like the Vatican or whatever.
I don't know.
I don't either. But this could be one of the, because they were carrying out what they considered like a holy mission. So
to protect the pilgrims.
Maybe this is where, like, because churches, they're still tax exempt today, as of today, right? Okay. All right. So they also had, now it was like the knights, but they also had like some other people like working for them, like cooks and squires and things like that, blacksmiths. And I think I read somewhere that there were like sergeants. But I don't know. Like the knights were kind of like the guys who went and did the fighting, essentially.
Okay.
And you had to be like, I think I read somewhere that you like had to be a knight to like actually enter the order. So you probably couldn't just be anyone and join.
You couldn't train to be a knight at the Knights Templar. You had to train to be a knight, and then you could decide to go join.
Yeah, you already had to be like a knight, like entering. Yeah. So now for their appearances, we'll talk about it a little bit, but usually the knights were in their mid-20s, which I mean, I guess makes sense because by then that's pretty old, like you said, from medieval times, but like you're also like a middle-aged man at that point. So you're wise, you're, you know, whatever. So they were sometimes like the young boys who joined because like their parents would like send them to like, to like, make a name for yourself or something like that. And I don't know how that often that actually happens.
I feel like that is some hardcore parenting.
Yeah. They said, go be holy and go do, you know, good for the country, I guess.
Oof.
And sometimes older men joined, like one knight named Sir William Marshall.
Yeah.
Marshall. He joined before he passed away. So he's like old and he joined, but he like joined and then was like left his money to them. So he like almost just joined to like leave him like donate money to them.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I guess like
he believed in the cause.
He believed in the cause. Exactly. And I think because the Knights Templar, which we'll kind of talk about a little later, like they lived on donations that people essentially gave to them.
Because they're impoverished.
Right. Because they themselves are supposed to be impoverished. Just wait. We'll talk about it.
They're not impoverished.
They're actually not impoverished. But because I love that Felina was just enjoying her tea so much, which apparently she's actually not because they forgot to put peach in it.
I couldn't swallow it.
Are you okay?
So sorry. I forgot how close
Am I going to have to do CPR?
No, I forgot how close I was to the mic. And I was like, oh no.
I feel like we need to turn your mic down because it really picks up those little things. You guys can listen to us laugh. Mm-hmm. She's trying to drink again.
I literally covered up my mouth.
I don't even remember what I was talking about.
You were talking about that we'll talk about in a second that they actually aren't impoverished.
That's right. Okay. So in order to become one of these knights, you had to be a free man. So you couldn't be a servant or a slave, I guess.
I forgot about slaves in the medieval period.
I did too. They shouldn't have had them. How dare you guys?
That's rude.
And he had to have parents who had him legitimately. So y'all had to be married.
He couldn't be made out of wedlock.
Yeah, he couldn't be made out of wedlock.
That's rude, honestly.
I know.
It's not his fault.
No, it's not. But like that was a big thing then. Like even for like kings and queens, like if you were an illegitimate son, like you couldn't like be in line to take over the throne and stuff, right?
Well,
like it was very
I
like
understand that aspect of it because you're
not your heir technically.
It's bastard child.
That's what they would refer.
That's what they called them.
Yeah.
But like it's not the kid's fault that the parents
no, it's not.
Had extracurricular activities before
he even came along.
before he was around.
Yeah.
Like why punish him?
Right.
Maybe his dream is to be a knight.
Yeah.
With the Knights Templar and you're just
you're ruining his dreams.
Yeah, because his parents
Yeah.
made whoopee before they were married.
How dare you make whoopee? I can't even be a knight now because you guys made whoopee.
Why couldn't you just keep it in your pants, Dad? Come
Right. So, which I feel like was frowned upon in this time period anyway.
Well, yeah.
But still, it's not fair. It's just not fair.
It's just not right.
It's not.
It's so rude.
You also, even though when you entered the Knights Templar, you had to swear to poverty. You first had to give money to get into it.
Okay.
Scam.
Yeah,
it's a
like
scam.
A pyramid scheme.
And you also had to have no debt. So me and you, we could because I have student loans. I have debt. I couldn't enter the Knights Templar.
I'm currently literally trying to pay it off.
We usually all have like a little bit of debt, okay? But you had to be debt free. Debt free. You could not enter.
Which it wasn't hard to be debt free in those days.
Well, I mean, if you were very poor and then you got like indebted to a king and they were getting interest and all that, you would have to be. Yes, it would be a very unique situation. Where it's like
there wasn't student loans,
right?
There wasn't credit card.
There wasn't credit cards.
You know,
right?
It's like
you had to be like specifically in debt to like one person.
Yeah.
So it was probably not as common in that time. Very few who joined were married. Like that was one thing. Like you couldn't really be married and enter. And I know you and I had talked about it before. But knights like could be married, but like the Knights Templar, you needed to be unmarried to like enter the order.
So would they get divorced?
I think they just weren't married, or maybe they're like, I think that if they like had a wife that had passed away, you could probably enter. I was wondering that too, because I think I read somewhere.
You said not a lot of them were married.
Yeah.
None of them were married.
I read somewhere, and I don't know if this is true, that there were very few exceptions and the like spouse had to agree to it. But I believe that means
the spouse had to agree that
they wouldn't be doing the hanky-panky,
no
I guess. Pretty much.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because
that's not good.
When they entered, they had to vow to be pure and not to have intercourse and all that stuff.
But
so
would it technically be considered impure with your wife?
We'll talk about it. Okay. We'll get there. Because you would think not, but we're going to talk about it.
Okay.
But save that for a later day. For just a few more minutes. So most of the men had beards and very short hair. Like that was the look. Which is weird because like apparently in medieval times, usually people had like longer hair.
Yeah.
Because you're not just cutting it all the time.
No.
But
who's got time?
They grew out their beards quite long.
Because you have to cut it with there's no
shears or something, like a sword, like a knife. Can you imagine?
Take an axe to it.
I always love that scene in Mulan where she like cuts her hair with the sword.
Did you know that's actually doable?
It has to be so sharp though.
Yeah.
Like
so sharp and such the right amount of force.
Which I feel like if it's a samurai sword or like a katana, you could do it. Like, because usually those are really sharp. It's like the Japanese kind of like looks like a samurai sword, but it's not.
Well, then what's the difference between a samurai sword and a katana?
Well, samurai sword, I believe, is of Chinese origin, but I could be wrong.
What?
Hold on. If I'm saying
but
this,
there was
katana.
There was what are they called? Samurai swords in Japan. When we went to Japan, they were selling them. They
katana,
were very expensive. I did not get one.
I didn't either, but I also didn't want to think about like Wes wanted one, but I was like, I don't even want to think about
customs.
how, like how I'm gonna get this back. So a katana is a Japanese sword characterized by. Oh, I'm so sorry. It might be that they're both Japanese. By a curved single-edged blade with a circular or a squared guard and long grip. Developed later than the tachi, it was used by samurai in feudal Japan and worn with the edge facing upward. So, okay, so the edge.
Okay, well.
So samurai sword.
So that's a katana.
And what is this? I could be wrong. I don't know why I thought. Oh, a samurai sword. What is it? A samurai sword, most notably, it is Japanese. Most notably, the katana. Oh, so a katana is a type of samurai sword.
Oh.
Traditionally used by samurai warriors in feudal Japan. Okay. So yes, I was wrong. Samurai are Japanese. They're not. Okay. I don't know why I thought that.
I feel like that's incorrect. Because there were so many.
I know.
Samurai sword. It would be one thing if it was like, oh, I just saw one or two. You know, but there was like so many of them. They were all over the place.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. They were to Japan, not China. Well, China had a military history. So they had like their own version, but not like samurai.
So, but they didn't use that. They
didn't use it. Yes. So yes, they actually, cut their hair with who knows what, because they didn't say. Probably shears, because they had sheer like scissor things that they could cut their hair with, surely. By the medieval time. Sure. We'll figure that out later. Anyway, we really got off track there. Totally okay, because we have time. They were also influenced by this branch of monks called the Cistercian?
Cistercian?
A cistern.
Sure.
Cistercian or / Benedictine monks. And in 1145, the knights were allowed to adopt the white mantle. And they adopted it from the monks because that was like because like different orders had like different, like some might have like brown cloaks or some might have, you know, different colored ones. But they decided to go with this because they were influenced by this group of monks. Like that was kind of like their religious order.
They were like, it must be the white cloak.
Exactly. And later on, after they took this, they embroidered the red cross on their like left breast.
Oh.
So if you've seen Knights,
I know these guys.
It took until we got to what they look like.
If you would have just shown me what they looked like from the beginning, I would have known who they were.
Well, if you've ever seen any Robin Hood movie too.
I was literally about to be like, isn't this like Robin Hood?
Yes, like King Richard the Lionheart.
I almost said that earlier, but then I was like, I can't interrupt her.
You should have. Then we would have actually gotten somewhere, and you would have got it in your mind. Okay, so yes, think of Robin Hood and think of King Richard the Lionheart, because he actually goes like on the Crusades. If you remember, he's like a Crusader king. So he like actually leads some of these like battles against the Muslims and the people in the Holy Land.
Okay.
Now,
again, that's another king I know nothing about.
King Richard? Mm-hmm. Yes, you do. We talked about him in the Robin Hood episode.
Did we?
Yes, we did. And he had a brother, John.
Don't remember names.
This is true.
You know me. I probably came up with a whole nother name for him.
You probably did. And did you ever watch the cartoon Robin Hood, Disney, with the fox as the...
I think I watched it maybe once.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. But he's actually a lion in the movie.
Okay.
So
okay, cool.
As well as King John. But King John in the cartoon Robin Hood doesn't have a mane. So it means that he's a lioness, which doesn't
That's weird.
Really make sense.
Well, didn't they also release the what's that farm one with the cows and the boy cows had udders?
Home on the Range? Is that what it was called?
No.
The male cows had udders.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Was it not called that? Which movie?
I was older when it came out. I don't think it was Home on the Range. Maybe it was Home on the Range.
Maybe.
This is also, you're getting the brunt of us talking.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it wasn't Home on the Range. I loved Home on the Range.
I'd never seen that one.
It wasn't. But you're getting the brunt of us talking. We haven't seen each other in 3 whole days.
Yeah, that's a lot for us.
There's no way to get... I mean, I've been unsocialized for 3 days.
Felina was quarantined. Not actually, but...
Sort of.
She had the pink eye, so... Yeah. Very unfortunate. You haven't figured out what it is yet?
No. Keep going.
Okay. All right, we'll talk about it later. Anyway, so they had I think this is kind of funny. They had their seal, like their official seal, like, you know, the insignia you see on documents and things like that, or like sending letters. It was of 2 knights on 1 horse. Essentially saying that they were too poor to have their own horse.
Oh, great.
But that's not true, because we'll talk about more later on.
I found it. It's called Barnyard.
Barnyard? Show me this.
That's a male. This is a male cow.
I am terrified of that. What studio made that? Is that a DreamWorks movie?
Maybe.
Which DreamWorks, when it has a good movie, has a good movie. But then for the most part, then I don't watch it, DreamWorks. But like, if you're talking about like Prince of Egypt or How to Train Your Dragon, those are some good movies.
Omation Animation Studios.
No wonder I haven't heard of them.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that I thought was interesting is that their shields are just like white with like 1 big black stripe across the top. So it doesn't have the red cross on it, which I thought was kind of weird.
They ran out of red paint.
I guess they just put a black stripe on it and call it a day. It's fine. It was like weird too though, because it's just like the top this much is black and then the rest is white.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like for the sun or something. Like maybe they reflected it in the eyes of the...
Probably.
But then like that part, like that was like near their face, protected from the sun.
Shielded him. Yeah.
That's my theory. I just made that up.
We solved the mystery.
Now let's talk about their rules. Which is...
spaghetti-o.
Spaghetti-o. And you can actually like read... I found a translated version of their rules online. So you can actually find like their original rules.
But they're not still around.
And no. They're not. There are conspiracies that they are, but we can theorize about them later on in a later time. Okay. So the Templar rule, it was written by a Cistercian monk who we had talked about, and this is how they really like got. This is how they were obviously like part of this monkhood, because this guy named Bernard of Clairvaux. Bernard. Yes, his name is Bernard. He was the one who wrote like these rules for them. So although Hugh de Pont, or how we decided to say it, de Pont, founded it, he was kind of the guy that like, I don't know how to say it, like gave them an official rule book, I guess. Okay. I don't know how else to say it. He wrote down the rules. Yeah. And so he wrote a treaty about like, oh, they're so great, singing their praises, like you guys should recognize them as this group or something like that. That's kind of how I understood it. Okay. So obviously we already talked about when they were joining, they had to commit to celibacy. They had to go to church services. So you could not be skipping out on that chapel.
It's mandatory chapel.
Mandatory chapel. You had to attend communal. How do you say that? Communal. I was like, how do you say this word? Meals. And you had to promise to be poverty-stricken, which we already talked about.
So bizarre.
Yes. And then they had to promise to obey the Grand Master. Okay? So these were like the basic ones. Yeah. Now, if you didn't obey these rules, the punishments could range from flogging and beatings, which is wonderful, to losing your place in the knighthood, to losing your privileges. So I don't know what that looks like. Like maybe you had to sleep on something else. You sleep on a cot. You sleep on a cot or something, which they probably already did, sleep on the floor. So I don't know what punishment that would look like. But they did have to, if one of the punishments was making you to eat your meals while sitting on the floor. So I guess the other people were at the tables and you had to sit on the floor.
Very communal.
Yes. Well, that was if you didn't listen to the rules, Felina.
Whoa.
Felina would be constantly on the floor. She'd be like,
I would literally get in trouble just to eat on the floor.
Right. You could be by myself.
Sometimes we'll be sitting and, okay, it's just the two of us. So sometimes we eat dinner on our couch.
Oh, we eat our dinner on the couch every single night.
Sometimes we eat it in bed. Depends on the day we've had. But we'll be sitting there and we have an ottoman now and we've rearranged our couches, and I will literally push the ottoman back so that I can just sit on the floor and eat.
So you would do this? Mm-hmm. What would be your what would you do to get you to be on the floor?
Depends on the rules.
Okay, well we'll talk about it. We'll see which one you would do.
I'll let you know.
Okay, good. So originally, the one written in 1129, the rules, it only contained 68 rules, and later it grew into the hundreds. So
they started getting scoundrels.
Yes.
No more of this either.
I don't understand how people live by this, because I would literally be like, am I going to like walk the wrong way and get punished? No, it's like really seriously like crazy stuff. So here we go. We're going to get into it.
Okay.
They were not allowed.
Are you going to read through all 68 of them?
No.
Okay.
We can if you want. I would love to do like an episode like that where we read something to each other and we just react. Which is why sometimes I just like I have two of the rules copied and pasted exactly how it said. So I'm going to read those to you because I think it's pretty funny. But the first thing, they were not allowed to kiss their moms or other women.
Well, the other women make sense.
They weren't allowed to kiss like relatives.
Were their moms even alive if they were in their 20s?
Probably. I mean, because mothers were young, so they probably were like in their 30s or something. 13. But they weren't allowed to kiss their mums. They couldn't wear pointy shoes or shoelaces because apparently they were considered to be pagan things.
They weren't allowed to have shoelaces?
No.
How are they supposed to run after people and protect the pilgrims with no shoelaces?
They, I guess, had leather boots or something that didn't have laces. Gosh. Yeah. Apparently that must have been too fancy.
Because they were not poverty-stricken enough.
Right. They weren't, because they were not allowed to wear dressy clothes, like fancy clothes, or fur. You could not have fur on your cloak.
But what about the winter?
Doesn't matter. You got to be cold.
Okay.
Now, they were not allowed to eat meat more than 3 times a week, unless there were holidays.
That's so sad.
Yeah. I think it was like every other day. But then the other days, they were like ate bread and vegetables or something like that. They weren't allowed to have meat except I don't understand because it was like, oh, meat corrupts the body. But I'm like, okay, but you're still eating it. So why only I don't have to have meat every day. That's fine, but like to be specifically like you can't have it more than 3 times in a week.
Yeah. To be told I can't eat it. That would probably be the one that I would
that's
eat.
it. Yeah, that's the one.
I would totally break that one. I would eat meat every single day.
Not the shoelaces.
Nah.
You would have your sandals. You'd be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got my Birks.
Although the buckles on it might be because I read somewhere that if I think it was like in the actual rules, like if they had a horse that had like a harness on it, like if it was a fancy harness, they couldn't have it unless it had been like given to them. It was like tarnished, and so it didn't look fancy. I was like, what?
Rub them in some dirt.
What?
I got them.
Right? Like, yeah. She's like, I'm gonna rub my Birks in the dirt, and then I can wear them.
The worst comes to worst, I just sew them together.
Which usually, because like in that time, well, I don't know about in that time period because it was medieval times, but like you know when Jesus lived, they had like the sandals.
Yeah.
So I'm like, maybe they had sandals and you would fit right in.
Yeah, perfect.
Like,
yeah, I'd probably totally 100% break the meat one. But let me hear some other ones first.
Okay. Knights had to share one bowl because there weren't enough. So they had to eat in pairs of 2. That would get me on the floor. I'm like, I don't want to share my bowl with someone.
That would get me on the floor, just get my own bowl.
Right? Exactly.
I mean,
I think if you were kicked to the floor though, you had to use like either your like cloak or like your napkin to like eat on. I don't know if they gave you a bowl at all. But still, I would rather eat off of my cloak than share a bowl with someone else.
Talk about like one of you gets sick, all of you get sick.
Oh yeah, 100%. It was yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah. Me and you eating out of the same bowl and you have pink eye. Like, I'm getting it.
No.
I mean, I guess if I don't touch it, like, it's fine.
As long as I'm not touching my eyeball and
I guess.
touching the bowl.
It doesn't, because I read that there was like a bacterial one and a fungal. No. Is there a virus one and a bacterial one, or is it just bacterial?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, we don't know. Anyway, so.
I just know that I had it and they gave me eye drops.
Cool. Like, what causes this? You didn't ask questions. You just said, give me the medicine. I'm out.
Apparently, my aunt told me this. Apparently, if you are snotty and then you like touch your eye before you wash your hands, you can get pink eye.
Really?
Because I was like, I literally have no idea where I got it from.
Everyone was saying you got it from the animals. Because apparently you can get it from the animals too.
Well, yeah, but I didn't touch the animals.
I thought you pet the horse.
No, I only touched the donkey.
Oh, well, still.
And that was with my right hand. I wouldn't have touched my left eye.
I don't know.
Anyways, sorry. We're sidetracked again.
Yes, we are. Anyway, let us know how you think Felina got pink eye.
Yeah, seriously.
Anyway, they were not supposed to, according to one article I read, and I included it because I thought it was funny. They were not supposed to get up from the table at dinner in the middle of it. They weren't allowed to get up unless they asked, unless there was, one, an immediate danger, or if they had like a nosebleed or something, which I thought was like, so.
Diarrhea.
Felina's like, I got a pope. I'm out.
I gotta go. Can I please be excused?
You weren't allowed. You cannot. I guess that. Yeah. I never grew up in a house where it was like you had to ask to be excused, but maybe that was kind of like what this was. Like you had to ask to be excused, and if not, you just had to stay because that was one of their rules. Is like you had to eat meals together.
Communal. Yeah.
Yeah. 2 of the rules. I shall read it to you. They're both about women, and I thought we would enjoy it because we're both women.
Okay.
The company of women is a dangerous thing.
Oh. Yeah, it is.
For by it, the old devil has led many from the straight path to paradise. Wow. Henceforth, let not ladies be admitted as sisters into the house of the temple. That is why, very dear brothers, henceforth it is not fitting to follow this custom, that the flower of chastity is always maintained among you. So even having women among you means you're impure, apparently.
Okay, what about the pilgrims that they're saving?
Yeah, what if they're women?
They're going to be women?
I guess they can help them. But
they can't hang out with them?
No, they can't.
They're not allowed.
They're not allowed like in their temple. They'd be like...
Well, yeah, because then some stuff would be going on sure.
For sure. Exactly. This one guy was like, you lock all these men together who are not allowed to have women?
Make whoopee?
Make whoopee?
Extracurricular activities?
Okay, and then this is another one about women. I just enjoyed them. We believe it to be a dangerous thing for any religious... I guess they said religious as in one of the knights. I don't know why they call... Hey, religious... For any religious, that's what it says.
Okay.
So I guess for any of the knights, to look too much upon the face of woman. For this reason, none of you may presume to kiss a woman, be it widow, young girl, mother, sister, aunt, or any other, all the girls. And henceforth, the knighthood of Jesus Christ should avoid at all costs the embraces of women, by which men have perished many times. so that they may remain eternally before the face of God with a pure conscience and sure life. This man who wrote this is dramatic.
How about you just say, you've pledged
not to ever touch a woman?
To not be with a woman.
Okay.
So don't be with a woman. And if you get caught being with a woman, you're out. Have some self-control.
Yeah. No.
They can't even. Okay.
You may not kiss. You may not look upon the face.
That's what I'm saying. You can't look at a woman for too long.
Too much, yeah. You could. That's why you can save them, but then you gotta. You can't look. That's how I feel like sometimes in the let's say in some of the conservative circles I was in. Mm-hmm. Like if you look too long at a boy, mm-hmm. You know what I mean. You don't do that.
Wow. How about say have some self-control?
Right, have some self-control.
Well, no wonder.
But it's okay to look at people.
No wonder they didn't want them to look at them. They've been pinned it up away from women. They haven't seen a woman.
Yeah, you'd be looking at a woman. You'd be.
Good grief.
Also, you were not allowed to tell another knight, so you couldn't be like, "Hey, dude,
this girl, she's hot."
Yeah, you weren't allowed to talk about intercourse you had with women, which I think meant before you had gotten into when you were a secular knight, you were not allowed to talk about like, "Oh, I slept with this woman." Or,
I slept with my wife. I have 3 children.
Right, like you weren't allowed to talk.
Here to get away from them. You know, like
right,
you know,
like what the heck? So yeah, I mean, don't be talking about the impurities with other knights. They weren't allowed to have children, which we kind of knew because they. I don't know if they weren't allowed to have children after they got in, or like if you had children, you couldn't be admitted into the knighthood. But they also said like you can refuse to be like a godfather. Like don't do it. I was like, okay. Like,
you can refuse it, or
you can. Yeah,
you
you should refuse it. It didn't say that. It sounded more like like having children and like being a godfather was like highly discouraged. But I don't know if it was like forbidden. I don't know, because I thought like in their eyes, like having children would be like a holy thing because you're like, you know, passing on the legacy.
Have a child and spread the good word.
Right, but apparently not.
Interesting.
Some of the other ones were you're not allowed to use medicine without permission, or take a bath without permission.
Oh my gosh.
Or take a trip into town without asking for permission. I think taking a bath, that's what would end up me on the floor. Like you took a bath without asking the Grand Master, how dare you? And then I'd have to sit on the floor. Yeah, that one would get me.
No, that one wouldn't get me. I'd be like, yo, I need a bath.
No, I know.
Because baths weren't common.
They really weren't. Yeah, that's true.
Like if you need one.
But I bet if I would have lived at that time, I would have found a way to make the bath a more common thing. I would have. Yeah. If I was born the same Hannah. But probably not, because that's what they would teach you, that everything's fine. You're not going to get sick.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have been born the same Hannah if you were born at that time.
What if what? Why? Because of circumstances?
Yeah.
But at my core, I could have been born the same Hannah. I don't know.
You are the way that you are when it comes to washing. Because of the knowledge that you have.
Nurture, not nature.
The modern knowledge that you have of germs.
This is true.
You would not have that knowledge.
But you'd have dirt and stuff all over you.
But you wouldn't have the knowledge that dirt is bad.
But it'd be grimy. Anyway, one rule also implied that the master guy, he could take anything from one knight and give it to the other, and you weren't allowed to complain about it. So you could be like, you know what, Philip, I don't know, don't choose the name Philip because he's later on in this. Tom, you have to give...
Not Tom.
Yeah, Tom has to give Michael his sword, and you're just going to have to get over it. Okay?
Does Tom get Michael's sword?
No. I don't know. I mean, they had to have swords, so that's a bad explanation. But you know what I mean. So you weren't allowed to complain about it. And then there was one rule that said, oh, you're allowed to, I guess, beat your slave with a leather piece.
They were allowed to have slaves?
I guess so.
But they weren't allowed to look at a woman.
They were allowed to have slaves, or maybe it was like they're like squires or something. It said slave. They were allowed to beat them, but they weren't allowed to maim them. I was like, oh, great. What a great way to say it.
To spank them.
Right.
It's
so
like,
you
could,
but
what I'm
you're not allowed to, you can't leave marks, essentially.
Yeah.
So, yes. And then, I guess, if you were eating, you could share with your comrades who were around you if, like, you could stretch out your hand to give it to them. But if they were further away, apparently you couldn't share it with them.
Yeah, you can't reach over.
Yeah.
That's impolite.
Yeah, it's impolite. So you could be, if like with you, if I can reach you, I can share food with you. But
you go and give me some bread?
I guess also because like you couldn't get up from the table. So if you had to get up from the table to share food with someone, which I don't know in what.
Stupid. Not being able to even get up.
Some of the rules, I'm just like, that's so stupid. Like, why are we bothering with this?
I don't know. Because it's also like, what if you wanted the potatoes, but the potatoes were all the way across the table?
Or what if you were a vegetarian and you didn't eat your meat, so you just wanted to give it to Tom?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because Tom's having a rough day.
Yeah, he needs that extra meat.
All the way across the table. You can't stand up, give it to him, and then go back and sit down.
Maybe you could go and like fling it his way. Lots of speculation. And Felina, I have something to tell you.
Okay.
We're going to have to finish this next week.
No.
I have a little bit about what they did and their demise and some conspiracies for next week. So you really need to come back for that episode because the conspiracies
are fun.
Are always fun.
You know we're going to come up with our own too.
Oh yeah. That's what's always so fun.
A twofer. Yeah.
So if you guys, if you know of any other weird little
tidbits with the Knights Templar.
Because I've heard some crazy things. Yeah.
Let us know. You can reach out to us at lattespodcast@gmail.com or on Facebook and Instagram at Lattes on My Mind, or you can reach us on our website at lattespodcast.com, or you can comment on any of our posts on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Audible, and YouTube.
And remember not to wear pointy shoes because that is pagan.
And also, please submit your pet friends on our website, lattespodcast.com, and we will feature them as the pet of the week.
Yep.
On our podcast episode, on our Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, your pet will be seen.
And they will be posted on the website.
Yeah, yeah. And let us know which rule would get you kicked to the floor.
Yes, please. Please. Because I think I still stand by mine would be the meat.
Yeah. But we didn't read the other 60 of them. So maybe go look at that list and then let us know.
Yeah. Do your own research.